I took a deep breath and summoned up all the courage I had inside of me. I was surrounded on all sides by ninjas. This wasn't going to be easy. One by one, they all began to launch their attack. I fought back with all of my strength. One charged at me with his star. I did a backflip and jumped out of his way. Another came at me from behind. I grabbed him and threw him down to the ground. The last one was the biggest and strongest of them all. He punched me in the stomach and knocked all the wind out of me. It took everything I had to recover from that. But I fought back, landing punches and kicks to his face and body.
Hi-ya!
Ha!
Hoo!
Hi-ya! I watched as he fell to the ground like a burst balloon. As I looked to the right of me, I saw the sensei give me a nod of approval.
Well done, young one.
But before I go on, make sure you like and subscribe and hit that notification bell, or you might end up having to fight ninjas too. I go to a school for ninjas. How did I get to this point? Well, let me explain. I grew up in a suburban neighborhood where nothing exciting ever happened. I was a normal girl living a normal life until one day, something happened that turned my life upside down. The day had started off just like any other. My mom and dad had gone off to work early, and I was left alone to sort out my breakfast and get myself to school. When I got home from school, my mom was in the kitchen making dinner. Hi, Mom. I'm home.
Hi, Alana. How was your day?
Oh, you know, boring as always.
Be a good girl and go and set the table for dinner. Your dad will be home soon.
It smells yummy. What are we having?
Your favorite, mac and cheese.
Yes! I went through to the dining room to set the table. It was only a few minutes later that I heard my dad's car pulling into the drive. Dad's home!
Okay, we'll eat straight away then.
The three of us sat down to dinner, chatting away. None of us had any idea what the night was going to bring. After dinner, we sat down to watch TV. The movie had only been playing for about half an hour when suddenly the wind started howling outside. There was a crack of thunder and a flash of lightning lit up the sky.
Gosh, that's one big storm we're having.
Just as my mom had finished speaking, we heard a loud bang.
That sounds like something has fallen in the garden. I'd better go and check.
I'll come with you. Alana, you stay inside, okay?
My parents went outside to see what the commotion had been about. I sat inside, huddled up on the sofa. I waited and waited, but they never came back. I started to get really worried about them. I opened the door and shouted for them, but there was no answer. Mom, Dad, where are you? My parents never came back, so I had to go and live with my grandparents. I hated it. I was so unhappy. They were always complaining about every little thing I did.
Alana, put your things away.
Alana, you haven't washed the dishes.
They were constantly criticizing me. It felt like I could never do anything right. I really hoped that one day I would be able to go live somewhere else. Well, surprisingly, that day came sooner than I expected it would. It was a Saturday morning, and my grandparents had gone into town shopping. I was sitting in the lounge reading when I heard a knock at the door. I wonder who that can be. When I opened the door, I saw a boy, about my age, standing there. Hello, can I help you?
Alana?
Yes, that's right. Who are you?
I'm Keanu. I'm a friend of your parents.
I was a bit shocked when he said he knew my parents. What do you want?
I have something to tell you. You have ancestral ninja blood in you.
Why are you telling me this?
Because I think you should go to ninja school.
Is that even a thing?
It most definitely is. It's your destiny, and you should go to the right school to receive your training.
It definitely wasn't what I expected to be doing with my life. But what did I have to lose? I wanted to live somewhere else, so it might as well be at ninja school. Okay, I'll do it. Keanu gave me all the details of the school that I should go to and told me to start the following week. When I told my grandparents what I was planning to do, they were all for it.
I think it's a great idea, Alana. It will be good for you.
I hadn't expected them to be so understanding, but I was happy that I didn't have to fight them over my decision. Monday morning, I turned up at the ninja school. It was a bit overwhelming at first. There was so much that I needed to learn. My days were spent learning how to throw a star and how to do backflips. The craziest thing I had to learn about was how to use a nunchuck. The teachers made it look so easy, but I can tell you, it was the opposite of easy. The weeks went by and I slowly began to feel like I belonged there. By the end of my third week there, I could handle a star like the rest of the students. When the last lesson of the day had finished, the sensei asked me to stay behind.
Alana, I want to have a word with you.
Yes, sir.
I think you are ready.
Really? Oh, wow. Do you really think I'm prepared enough?
Yes, I do. Tomorrow, you will have your first real ninja fight. You will be up against some of our finest ninjas.
I could hardly sleep that night. I was filled with a mixture of fear and excitement. The minute the sun came shining through my bedroom curtains, I was awake and jumping out of bed. When I got down to the courtyard, the place was already filled with spectators. It seemed like everyone wanted to see me in my first fight. I took a deep breath and summoned up all the courage I had inside of me. I was surrounded on all sides by ninjas. This wasn't going to be easy. One by one, they all began to launch their attack. I fought back with all of my strength. One charged at me with his star. I did a backflip and jumped out of his way. Another, then another came at me.
Hi-ya!
Ha! Hi-ya! I watched as they all fell to the ground like burst balloons. As I looked to the right of me, I saw the sensei give me a nod of approval.
Well done, young one.
After my fight, all the other students came over to congratulate me.
Great fight, Alana. You thrashed them.
Thanks! It was about a week after my first fight, and I had spent all week honing my skills. The sensei had been watching as I practiced and practiced.
Young one, you are ready for your next fight.
Who was it with?
Keanu.
I gasped. Keanu? But he is one of the best fighters. It will be too difficult for me.
I think you are ready. You can only do your best, can't you?
I wish that I had as much faith in my abilities as the sensei seemed to. There is no way I can beat Keanu. He is much more experienced than me. I stood in front of Keanu, not taking my eyes off of him. Out of the corner of my eye, I could see the sensei telling the crowd to be quiet.
At the count of 3, the fight will begin. 1, 2, 3.
No sooner had he said the word than Keanu jumped up in the air and lashed out at me with both feet. I dodged quickly to the left, narrowly missing being kicked. Before he had the chance to kick me again, I grabbed hold of his upper body and threw him to the ground. I thought that would be enough to wind him, but he immediately sprang back up onto his feet. This is too hard. I'm not ready for this. I pushed the negative thoughts out of my head and lunged at Keanu. He dodged out of the way, and I went sprawling onto the floor. I really thought that I was finished, but with one last burst of energy, I jumped to my feet and punched him straight in the face. Bang! The noise reverberated around the courtyard as he hit the ground like a ton of bricks. The crowd erupted in cheers. I couldn't believe it. I had beaten him.
Good fight, young one. Better luck next time, Keanu.
Keanu and I shook hands with each other and then with our sensei.
Now, both of you shower, then go back to your dorms.
By the time I had finished showering, the buzz from the adrenaline running through my body had just about subsided. I felt on such a high. I can't believe I did it. I beat him. As I walked towards the dorm, I caught sight of Keanu walking across towards the sheds. I called out to him, but he didn't hear me. I really hoped that he wouldn't have any hard feelings about the fight. I think I'll just go over and make sure he is okay. But when I got closer to the shed that Keanu had gone into, I got the shock of my life. He was talking on the phone, and I could hear every word. All the blood drained from my face, and I stood there frozen on the spot. Keanu ended the call and walked out of the shed, bumping straight into me.
Oh, hi, Alana. I didn't see you there.
You were talking about my parents, weren't you?
What? No. What are you talking about?
Don't lie. I heard you say their names.
You must be mistaken.
I know what I heard. Now tell me what's going on.
Okay. Look, your parents aren't dead.
What?
Your parents are ninjas too, but the evilest ninja of them all is out to get them.
So where are they now?
They're in hiding, and they were scared that you might be targeted too. So they asked me to convince you to join a ninja school so you could learn to defend yourself.
I was so shocked. Well, you would be too, wouldn't you? One minute you think your parents are dead, and the next you're told they're actually in hiding and are ninjas? Just as I was trying to digest what I'd just been told, I suddenly heard shouts coming from the other side of the courtyard. The school was being attacked. Ninjas in red started running towards Keanu and I. I looked at him and he nodded at me. We both began fighting the attackers. As I punched on and sent them flying through the air, I saw another creeping up at Keanu from behind. Watch out behind you! Just in time, Keanu turned and launched himself at his attacker. He knocked him to the floor, and at the same time, a ninja in gold uniform came flying at me.
Be careful, Alana! That's the evilest ninja!
So you're the one after my parents, are you? I started to fight the ninja, but I didn't notice him taking his star and lobbing it at me. I had no time to dodge it, but just as I was expecting to feel it piercing into my body, Keanu jumped in front of me and took the star straight into his chest. I leapt at the gold ninja and kicked him to the ground. Luckily, just as he went down, the police turned up at the school.
We'll take it from here, young lady. You've done a great job.
The police slipped the handcuffs onto the gold ninja and took him away. I ran over to Keanu. Keanu, are you okay? The gold star was sticking out of his chest, and he was having difficulty breathing. He tried to speak, but I couldn't hear what he was saying. I leant closer to him, and he whispered in my ear,
I love you.
My face fell in shock. I didn't know what to say. But then the medics turned up and started treating Keanu.
He's going to need to go into surgery. It's a deep wound, penetrating right into his chest. We're going to take him straight to the hospital.
I'm coming too. The medics looked at the sensei, and he nodded.
Okay, Alana, you can go with him. We will be along to see him later.
I jumped in the ambulance with Keanu and held his hand as we drove to the hospital. When we arrived at the hospital, the doctors took one look at Keanu and rushed him straight into emergency. The nurse told me to go to the waiting room.
As soon as he is out of surgery, I will let you know.
Thank you. I gave her a weak smile. I was worried sick about Keanu. I waited and waited, willing the door to open and for the nurse to come and tell me he was all right. Suddenly, the hairs on my arms stood up on end. I could sense a presence behind me. Don't tell me the ninjas have come to attack me here. I jumped up and prepared to fight. But when I saw who was standing behind me, I let out a cry. Mom! Dad! I ran to them and hugged them both. I'm so glad to see you. I thought you were dead.
I'm sorry, Alana. We had to go into hiding.
But you can come home now, right?
I'm sorry, not yet. We need to remain in hiding for a little longer. We have a few more enemies to remove, and then we will be able to join you again.
Even though I was disappointed that they wouldn't be coming home, I knew that they had important work to do.
Will you be okay?
Yes, I'll be fine. You don't need to worry about me. I have a friend at school anyway. Just then, the door opened and a nurse walked in.
The operation was a success. He's awake now if you'd like to go to see him.
I looked at my mom and dad. Do you mind?
Of course not. You go and see your friend.
As I walked out of the room, my parents gave each other a knowing smile. I opened the door to Keanu's room. He looked up at me and smiled.
Hi, Alana.
Keanu, I can't believe what you did. You sacrificed yourself to save me.
Huh, it was nothing.
No, it wasn't. It was the nicest thing anyone has ever done for me.
I would do anything for you, Alana.
I looked at Keanu, and my heart literally melted. Keanu, did you mean what you said to me earlier? Do you really love me? He blushed.
Yes, I do.
I paused, then I hugged him quickly. I love you too.